Hi, my name is Ali bin Johar. My method number is 278399. Today I want to present about individual assignment. My topic is study on public bank Berhad about performance and its determinants. The problem related to this research is the effect of pandemic COVID-19 to the bank institution because low of economic activity and the borrower cannot afford to pay back the loan that can make a bank suffer a losses. Therefore, this will affect the bank's profit and performance. My research objective is, first, to identify the impact of internal factors on public bank Berhad performance. Second, to identify the impact of external factors on public bank Berhad performance. Third, to identify the impact of internal and external factors on public bank Berhad performance. Based on past study, bank performance is generating profit through maximize the revenue and minimize the expenses or the cost. Therefore, refer to Stoica 1999, the banks must be looking at the causes, consequences, and impacts to the bank profitability because the performance risk depends on the bank profitability. Thus, we must looking at what factors that can affect the bank profitability. The internal factors that may affect the bank performance is return on equity, return on asset, current ratio, loan to deposit ratio, impaired loan ratio, debt to income ratio, operational ratio, and operating margin. Next, for external factors that may affect the bank performance is GDP, inflation, interest rate, exchange rate, and standard deviation of market share. In this study, the data were derived from the Public Bank Berhad annual report for the 5 years, that's from 2017 to 2021. The annual report are used to access the income statement and the balance sheet of the company to analyze and calculate the financial ratio such as return on asset, return on equity, and others internal factor. Next, in this study, the statistical package for social science SPSS version 26 are used to process the data and statistics. Furthermore, there are 3 model formulation, which the model 1 correspond to first objectives, which is to identify the impact of internal factors on public bank Berhad performance, and the model 2 is correspond to second objective, which is to identify the impact of external factor on public bank Berhad performance, and the third model is correspond to the third objectives, which is to identify the impact of internal and external factors on public bank Berhad performance. Next, the finding for descriptive statistic is the mean of ROE is 0.2306 or 23%, which show the bank earn 23 ringgit on every ringgit of its share capital, and the standard deviation is 0.0190, show small volatility in profit within 5 years. The mean for operating margin is 0.8508, which indicate that the bank efficiency in generate profit is about 85%, and the standard deviation is 0.0433, that indicates small volatility within 5 years. Next, the mean of inflation is 1.820, which indicate that a rise in cost of product and services of this bank is about 182%, whereas the standard deviation is 1.3065, showing the significant volatility within 5 years. Next, for the interest rate, the mean is 3.3531, which implies that the cost of borrowing the principal for this bank is 335%, whereas the standard deviation is 1.7983, shows significant volatility within 5 years. The finding for correlation, the most significant with ROE is operational ratio, which the p-value is 0.008, and the variable are not significant with ROE is ROA, current ratio, loan to deposit ratio, impaired loan, debt to income, operating margin, and the GDP, because the p-value is more than 0.10. Thus, if public bank Berhad want to increase their performance, they must increase their operational ratio by taking care of their operation. The finding for ANOVA, for model 1, ROA and operational ratio are not significant with ROE because the p-value is 0.109. And for model 2, exchange rate, GDP, and inflation are not significant with ROE because the p-value is 0.175. And for Model 3, GDP, ROA, and operational ratio are not significant with ROE and the p-value is 0.355. The finding for model summary: the model that are most powerful to expect ROE is Model 2, with the value of adjusted R2 is 0.924. That indicate the Model 2, which is exchange rate, GDP, and inflation, can explain the ROE about 92%. The finding for regression coefficient: for Model 1, the most significant influence the ROE is operational ratio, with p-value is 0.056, and the implication is the changes of operational ratio will change the performance of public bank Berhad. Thus, if operational ratio are dropped, the bank performance also will drop, and vice versa. Next, for Model 2, there are none of these variables are significant with ROE, and that show GDP and inflation are positively related with ROE but not influence the ROE. And same goes for Model 3, which is none of these variables are significant with ROE because the p-value is more than 0.10, which is the p-value for ROA, operational ratio, and GDP is 0.880, 0.187, and 0.655 respectively. Lastly, the suggestion is to reduce operational risk, bank may improve customer service and make a faster in-counter transaction. Also, bank may improve digital banking system by upgrade the server to avoid excess online traffic in digital banking to reduce the operational risk. In addition, to reduce credit risk, banks may strengthen the terms of giving loan to borrower. Thus, it can decrease default, counterparty, and non-performing loan. Okay, that's all from my presentation. Thank you.